It's the feel-good story of all time. Oh, hello, kids! Would you like to learn about comic books and how they work? Well, that's not what this program's about. Go watch some other channel. I'm here to teach you about Barry Windsor-Smith.
West Coast Davengers!
Welcome back to the West Coast Davengers. I'm your host, Coffee Dave. It's what's for dinner. Before we get started, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you know when I drop a new video, or you know when I'm going live, and comment down below. What do you think about my theory about how Barry Windsor-Smith got his name? I'm just kidding. That's not what this video is exactly about. I also have a podcast called Direct Edition. It's an audio podcast. It is different from this show. It's more opinionated. I go into other topics that are surrounding comics, movies, music, life in general, and the occasional talk about Dino DNA. Now, this video I recorded back maybe about 6 months ago or so, and it just kind of been on the back burner. But the long short of it is I found these continuous run of issues that Barry Windsor-Smith pencils, and it seems to be the pathway to his evolution to the art that he would be known for in Conan, in Weapon X, in Monsters, in Ad Astra. So without further ado, this is a shorter video, so kick back, take your shoes off, get a nice cup of coffee, and drink about a quarter of it, and then find something else to do after this video is over. Dave, take it away. Welcome back to the West Coast Avengers. Today we're going to talk about the evolution of Barry Windsor-Smith. Before he was doing things like Red Nails Conan and this exquisite line work and the ultra detail work that we all know and love him for, or the intricate brutality of Weapon X and this masterpiece, or even further, his magnum opus, Monsters, with these just lines everywhere and so much detail and horror. Before all of this, before Barry Windsor-Smith, before Conan, yes, in the early part of the 70s, 1970 to be exact, he was Barry Smith, the Jack Kirby clone, doing stuff like Astonishing Tales and other things. But what I want to show you is over the course of 4 issues, we can see Barry Smith become this Barry Smith. And it's all, what I can tell, in part due to one inker. But we'll get to that in just a moment. Let's take a look at Astonishing Tales 3, this ka-zar and Dr. Doom. We've got Barry Smith, penciler, inked by Sam Granger. Now, you can see a little bit, just a very hint of what would become in this this petrified man character, but he is still very much in his Kirby clone phase. And I always look at the mouths, the faces. Obviously, I might be an expert in Kirby faces at this point, but you're definitely seeing the line work of somebody that was looking at Kirby, but there's hints of it. But what you're going to see in a couple issues is such a drastic change. It's almost night and day. I haven't read this. I actually just kind of got a collection that had these books, and I was flipping through them. Beautiful copies. And I noticed that, he was doing the first bunch of issues. Just never heard of Sam Granger, and I apologize if I should have. But you can see a little bit, a little bit more. Like Kirby wouldn't do that kind of gruff look in, kind of like the cheekbones. He uses a lot of shadows, but he doesn't do the cheekbones that way. But the mouth is still very Kirby-esque. So this is a Wally Wood story. So then issue 4 is still Barry Smith with Sam Granger. And now here, these Kirby shapes, these are all Kirby shapes. They're a little bit different, but they are Kirby shapes. Barry Smith's anatomy was a little bit different, and I don't know for sure that he was influenced by Frazetta, but I see a little Frazetta. in some of this stuff here, but still the shapes and the architecture, the rubble, these are Kirbyisms. Right here, I can see Kirbyisms. So this one actually looks less like Barry Smith than the last issue. And obviously that's definitely in part to his youth and also being inked by Sam Granger. You can see, like, that's kind of like, okay, maybe you could see some proto-rune in there. But you're going to see, oh, hello, Dr. Doom. So this is a Larry Lieber, Wally Wood continuation. So this next issue, issue 5, this is where you see a little bit of the turning point. But the turning point comes in issue 6. And like I said, it's pretty drastic. Issue 5, he's inked by the great Frank Giacoia. And this issue, you're just seeing almost a totally different thing. The Petrified Man, he kind of looks, I don't even know, like maybe a little bit more Buscema than Kirby. And it's like almost, this style just becomes its own thing. You're not seeing, I don't see too many Kirby shapes. This looks, okay, that looks more like Darkseid than anything. But the face here, and a lot of people talk about Barry Windsor-Smith's, quote unquote, horse faces. You can see it right here in this panel. Not really a special book. Like, this book doesn't really stand out. Not like the next issue. But Giacoia was a guy who was inking a lot of people. He's a great artist himself. But I see like this kind of like, okay, we hit like almost a reset button on this issue. And there you go, the first story ends. And Tuska takes over on the Doom story. So what you're going to see here, you're going to see one of the long-standing Marvel artists, even pre-Marvel artists, Bill Everett, inking Barry Smith. I don't know, because I wasn't there, I've never met, I've never talked, I've never read about Barry Windsor-Smith in this era of Marvel. But what you're going to see is, from issue 5 to issue 6, we get Barry Smith as we start to know him today. I mean, right here, the shadows, the lines, like the brushwork here, I guess, of Everett. But I don't know if Everett was the one who just said, look, I'm going to ink you, and this is what Barry Windsor-Smith, this is his style, this is what it becomes. Like, look at this panel of ka-zar in the rain, and look at Conan, look at the rain. You're seeing the birth of Barry Smith right here in this issue. It's kind of nuts. The beads of sweat, the small facial features is definitely the wet on the face on this character here. You could see the beads of sweat here. I mean, it's amazing how this issue with Bill Everett as the inker just goes right into the style that we know Barry Windsor-Smith becomes. And I think it is definitely the rain. It's the hair. It's such a drastic change. And I love seeing this. You could be following an artist for 10 years and the change will be subtle. And you'll see that artist come into their own. But this was like, it was like Bill Everett turned Barry Smith into this. It's amazing. Look, it's Arnold.
I'll be back.
So I just thought it was really cool that I noticed this, and I'm like, you know what, let's shoot a video about this. I'm not a huge ka-zar fan, but it's cool seeing Barry Smith turn into this. I mean, you can see a little bit of just what he would go after in the sword, the barbarian type stuff. And so this last page, this is the last issue he does, I think, of the series. I looked at issue 8, and he does not pencil issue 8. But here's a perfect example. You can see he still has a little bit of the Kirby mouth here. Here, kind of not really Kirby-ish. And then here, in Red Nails, he's come into his own. And I know some people have problems with his faces. I don't, necessarily. But it's just amazing to see this transformation within one issue. And I thought it would be fun to point that out. So that's over the course of 4 issues. Astonishing Tales 3, 4, 5, and 6. And 6 is when he comes into his own. So you've got Sam Granger on 3 and 4. You've got Giacoia on 5, and you've got Bill Everett on 6. I hope you enjoyed this short little video. And back to you, Dave. Wasn't that a great video? I say that about everything, but I am very proud of what I do on this channel, as I should be. But I really do think, unless, you know, there are some issues that you can cite down below, that I think this is really where you see Barry Windsor-Smith start to develop that style when Bill Everett inks him, and then the evolution of his through his own books. I mean, he only started in '69 with Marvel. I think it was like X-Men number 53 or something, or 54. It was one of those low number 50 issues. And he would do other stuff in that era, but that right there seems to be the pathway to what becomes Conan, and what we would go on to see in the Red Nails trilogy, and some of the other stories in that. And obviously, Wesley. And obviously this book, Monsters, which I think is the best book that he's ever done, and one of the best books that I've read. If you are newish to the channel, about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, we did a book club review of this, me and my buddy East Bay Comics, Angel, where we really dove deep. This book deals with a lot of heavy themes, abuse, alcoholism, addiction in general, a lot of heavy themes, but it is such an amazingly strong piece of work. So I'll link that. You can check that out. It'll be clickable when the credits roll here. But anyway, I think the more things like this I notice, I'm happy to make videos of. If there's anything else you want me to explore too. But thanks for watching. Like, follow, subscribe, all that stuff. You can check me out. WestCoastDavengers.com is my website. DirectEditionPodcast.com, also a website. Other things that are websites. I'm not going to go into those because I don't own any of those. But I'll see you next week on the Monster Davengers. Barry Windsor-Smith edition.
Bing, bing, bing. You gotta keep them separated.